Excuse me.
Okay.
Let me turn this on first.
Oh, he's got to turn that on first.
Because the radio will kick in as well.
Yeah. Wait.
Oh, go away.
Maybe we can make a deal. The only fast car we're getting in is this one, and we're going home because it's 1:05 on Saturday morning, and we've just come out of a double bill Doctor Who showing of The Legend of Ruby Sunday and The Empire of Death. So we're going to go into spoilers from the off. There will be spoilers throughout this. First off, obviously, Legend of Ruby Sunday was last week's episode. At the time, I was like, I didn't dislike it, but I was just a bit like, I was disappointed that it was so obviously Sutekh. I didn't like the Sutekh gag itself. That just seemed a bit hokey to me. But possibly because I'd figured it out and it meant there was no surprise in the episode for me. I think that's probably my main problem with it. However, I have to say, rewatching it on the big screen, completely different experience and felt completely different about it.
It felt much more cinematic.
Yeah. I mean, you suddenly...
we saw it in the cinema, so...
And it was cinematic. It just... Yeah, there's no light at all.
Where's it?
I don't know.
There we go.
New car. So yeah, it gives you a much better sense of scale of what they've achieved. It's a bit like you should watch every episode of Doctor Who this way. We were saying there was a brief interval, and we were saying we'd love to watch 73 Yards in the cinema because the atmosphere would be astounding. I'd like to watch The Devil's Chord in the cinema just because it's camp and like all the big musical stuff at the end would be brilliant. Jinx on a big screen, yes please. I think the only one I'm really not fussed about going, please put on the big screen, would be Space Babies. But even then, that will probably have, elements to it. So that was, and yeah, it just gave you an idea of Fox in the Bushes, what they've actually got and what they've achieved and what they've done that perhaps doesn't quite come across on on a TV, even if you've got a very large TV, which we don't have a particularly large TV by today's standards, but yeah, and it just, and I think the obviously cinematic quality, because we've got this, I always have the setting on that's the hyper real setting because I prefer that as a picture quality at home, but obviously with the kind of cinematic wash that's probably on your TV set, which doesn't happen to be on ours, I think for the big screen worked. And the title sequence, I was like so that was great. And then there was a little break, and then we had a lovely intro from Millie Gibson.
And hedgehog eyes.
Yeah, had natures, as you well know.
I was just doing a Victoria.
Yeah. And then we had the intro from Millie saying you're going to get most but not all of the answers that you really want, and the end of the story that started with the church on Ruby Road, which I have to say they did deliver on. So you can actually go up here, it would work, but you don't have to.
I'm following the sat nav.
Yeah. It just turns into the same road.
You and I have had this conversation many an occasion.
Yeah. But so then we get into Empire of Death. I was just saying to Paul before we drove off that when they first killed Kate, I was a bit like, what? And then as soon as other people started dying, I'm like, oh, this is going to get reset. They're not going to kill everyone and leave them dead. So I kind of was less concerned at that point. But initially I did have a little second of a, what? Just these. Excuse me. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I can see plot holes in it. We were just, there was a girl having an absolute fit about worst finale ever outside the screening because there was no point to Fleabag's sister and the dead baby. And I'm like, well, no, because I think to me, I agree it didn't need it to be in that scene. You could have done it in other ways. But that was kind of the Doctor realising the death-life balance. That if Sutekh brings death, he was able to bring life, I think that journey for the Doctor starts there. So you didn't really need it, but I thought it set up an interesting red herring, because the Doctor tramping across that desert was wearing the same stuff as Ruby's mother, and I'm thinking, fairly certain the Doctor's hand was that the mother's hand is white in the image. So if it now suddenly turns out it was the Doctor all along, that's going to be a bit weird.
It was the Doctor all along.
Yeah, just bring Agatha in. And then the Sutekh thing was a classic Russell reset boom. It really reminded me a lot of Last of the Time Lords. But we were just saying how hilarious it is. There's a whole spin-off of Sutekh through the years that I think needs to happen. Because he's just been sat on top of the TARDIS all this time, spinning round and round and round in the vortex. Whee! So when the TARDIS went spinning headlong into the Dalek ship at the end of the 2005 series, did he bash his head first? I mean, what happened with that? And then, like Paul said, when the Pandorica thing happened, the TARDIS exploded all over the universe. Did he get like a hot bum and go, hey Vincent, paint me, like paint me like one of your French TARDISes. And then, like the Doctor's wife, when House completely devoured the TARDIS, you're like, oh, was it all gone? And then when it landed in Pete's world and it was just a tiny little crystal, was he like going, oh, I'm parched, oh, I could murder a couple. There's a whole thing there waiting to happen. May even just write it myself and just make it as a pan Faraday. What the fuck's that? And yeah, so it did, and it kind of ended soon. And then it went Return of the King with its millions of endings. I loved that Mrs. Flood ending.
You just loved the coat she was wearing.
But there was a very Mary Poppins vibe to that.
I was expecting her to kind of lift off.
Yeah, umbrella in a suitcase, but wearing a East 17 Stay Another Day coat. Just because she said I had such plans before she dusted.
Yes.
So, and I'd said we'd had this conversation a couple of days ago. I said, no way you're getting answers on Mrs. Flood before series 2. Not a chance. Not a chance. So yeah, I've rabbited a bit. You say some stuff.
You've basically covered everything, because most of what I was going to say you've kind of touched on with the whole Through the Ages stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Memory TARDIS?
That was more you, because I'm not a Ming Mong.
I was because again, big screen. I think you saw more detail in that Memory TARDIS than you can see on the small screen.
Yeah, I mean the only thing, it's funny you saying about, like, it was obviously me that pointed out to you that like Rose was still in the screen at the back, because you hadn't clocked
No, I hadn't clocked her. No.
So I mean, you gave a little like gasp when obviously stuff happened with Kate, and I'm just sat there going, yeah, Rose has been dusted, this isn't sticking, because there's absolutely no way. I mean, despite Russell's tendency to kill the gays,
He's not killing the trans girl.
no, that's a can of worms even Russell's not gonna fucking deal with.
We hope.
So I was expecting, and it is one of my, I think, only disappointments with like Russell's Doctor Who writing, particularly like the big two-parters he does, because he is very good at setting them up. Fresh Lives Be Light Made, I haven't got my high beams on. He's probably doing about that. So.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or there's a speed camera down here.
Which is fine, because I always do the speed limit, because I'm a good boy.
Yes.
But he does really good, like high stakes storytelling, and then just undoes it all by just doing a massive reset button, and it just becomes ultimately largely, if you want to be really reductive about it ultimately becomes completely pointless, because it just resets everything back to the way it was before.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said outside the cinema, that it was a very literal Deus Ex Machina, because it was a God versus the machine reset.
Yeah.
Go on, you say? What to say?
But I mean, for all of that, me sounding very negative about it, I loved both. I mean, it's quintessential Doctor Who. I think both classic and new in terms of the feel of it.
Oh God, the Easter eggs, Jesus!
Yeah, it's got the sensibilities of New Who, with, like you say, the Easter eggs and the nods of
All the
classic.
planets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like seeing it on the cinema screen was just mind blowing.
Yeah. Sarah Jane Smith on the big screen momentarily.
But yeah, I think a really solid sort of end, and again, not a dissimilar kind of vibe with the whole thing about who Ruby's mother might be, that we had hoped to see in things like Star Wars with Rey, where they bottled it and actually made her part of the Palpatine.
No, she's a Palpatine now. What?
Yeah. So I thought that was actually a really interesting choice, and it ties in really well with the whole kind of supernatural stories, the power of belief, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that her mum they were just a couple of teenagers, as is often the way with abandoned babies of that kind of ilk. Not that particularly happens anymore, but what I know of. Anyway.
Well, when you think about it in Legends, Kate literally signposts that when she talks about what sort of abandoned children background normally is.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I thought that was quite glorious, and really, really, really enjoyed that. So yeah, loved it. Yes, there's plot holes with it. Yes, I was a bit sort of like that it resets like that rather than being a bit more of a clever reset. But it is what it is. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thumbs up.